Good evening. We'll go ahead and start 6 o'clock. First item on the agenda is consider approving the minutes held on July 18th.
I'd make a motion we approve those minutes and sign the warrant.
Motion is made. Do we have a second? Second from Bob. Thank you. I'd like to move item number 6 up to the second spot to consider approving the town diversity resolution. Maybe you present a letter, Gary.
Thank you, Mike. I've included in your packet a copy of the proposed resolution that we drafted, along with the original Kennebec Valley Regional Diversity Declaration that you've already seen that. And the reason why I placed this with the document was because I wanted to let you know that we've taken the same verbiage and just turned it into a resolution format. I actually have Dr. Phoenix Morningstar sitting over there. Phoenix has joined this march, and he's actually doing facilitating for the program. If there's any discussion or any questions that you might have, Phoenix is a great resource, and he's here to answer anything that you have on it. And if not, and if you would like to pass this thing, entertain a motion and a vote.
Any questions? Comments?
I'd make a motion to accept this municipal resolution on diversity as it's written.
Second. Second by Mr. Nutting. All in favor?
Thank you, gentlemen. I am going to just pass this original document down, and if you guys could just sign that and give that to Jan, appreciate that. Thank you, Phoenix.
Sorry, we didn't take too much of your time. Thank you for the great words. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming in. Next item on the is item number 3. Decide on a current land use violation.
Actually, what we're going to do is number 2.
Sorry.
Yeah. We're going to go to...
Consider signing an amendment for a power purchase agreement.
Okay, I have Chuck Piper from Sundog Power, who's here to go and address this. Like everything else that's happening in 2020, COVID has impacted the speed in which this project that he's overseeing to help it come to fruition, and we are behind the schedule on it. And there's been some other changes that we've talked about in the amendment to the contract. You have a copy of that. What you don't have, and I'm going to hand it to you right now, is the original contract, section B. It's all highlighted here. It's the option to purchase. That section has been rewritten. And I know that you haven't had a lot of time to look at this, but we're just going to kind of summarize what the difference is on it. Just to give you a heads up, I have gone through this contract with Chuck, and we've kind of beat it up back and forth. It's in a place where I'm happy with it, but you may have developed some questions, and Chuck is here to go and answer those questions for you.
What changed in the option purchase?
Say that again?
What changed in that top B option purchase? I haven't read it over.
Yeah, if you look at the contract, I mean, the new amendment portion of it, which is a real simplified. We kind of,
On camera or not?
I'll let him pass out his paperwork.
Sorry about that, Gary.
No, it's not a problem.
Just some time to escape there, sorry.
Just some photos of our progress.
Here we go. Chuck, why don't you address Mr. Wrigley on that? He asked on the option to purchase, what's changed on that? So I'll let you address that.
Well, there's a little more clarity around the purchase price. The contract that Gary signed didn't actually have the purchase amount in the paragraph. So we've added that, which protects the town. That was part of the original proposal, was the town would have an option to purchase the system at the end of year 6 for $385,000, which is about 50% of the cost of the system. And so we added that just to make sure that's in there to protect the town. And then there was there's a paragraph of extra verbiage that we picked up throughout dealings with other municipalities that really was not clear. And so we just dropped that. So we're just clarifying that section.
Essentially, the two paragraphs are the same. It just doesn't come into the 37.5% effective tax rate. All the stuff that's tucked into this one, I've had the main contract vetted by our legal group. They had no issues with it. I didn't have the redo of Section B vetted. I read through it. I didn't find anything in there that I felt was harmful. And I did simplify it. The $385,000 was in the original paperwork that we all received when we had the presentation. And I missed that, our lawyers missed that, and so that's a good catch on their part for putting that together. Any other questions on that paragraph? Chuck, why don't you take it right from the start at the amendment. Go down through what your changes were.
Okay, can we just grab a copy of the amendment here? Got some glasses in here someplace. Yeah, there. So basically, the amendment starts with some clarifying language, and it gets into the changes, which are down below towards the middle. Anticipated commercial operation date. We're requesting that we change that to December 31st, 2020, although we anticipate we'll have the system done long before that, but we just want to make sure that we don't run into this again. So there are a couple of unknowns. One is well, there's only one unknown right now, and that's how quickly CMP will install the new equipment. They just cashed our $40,000 check, and now they'll schedule their phase of the installation. So we're just requesting that we extend that out to the 31st of December. And then it's common to have a outside commercial operation date, and it's normally in the solar world about 90 days beyond the anticipated commercial operation date, so that's one of the changes. Number 3 just identifies the new service that's been installed out there, or the new meter, and then the 10 accounts that we are going to compensate with solar credits. Those weren't in the original document. Then number 4 on the reverse side of the page is the option to purchase that Gary just highlighted. Number 5 is the site lease. We needed a description of the property, so we now have the deed. Let's see, site lease agreement. Oh, that was the license, sorry. We just needed a copy of the deed for the license. Then number 7 is actually pertaining to number 6, I believe. Site lease agreement, Exhibit 6 shall be amended as follows on attached Exhibit 5 form of memorandum of license agreement and Exhibit 6 site license agreement. Miscellaneous except as specifically provided herein, the terms and provisions of the solar power purchase agreement are reaffirmed and continue in full force and effect. This amendment shall be binding upon the heirs, administrative successors, and assigns of the parties hereto. The laws of the state of Maine shall govern the interpretation and enforcement of this amendment. Headings contained in this amendment are for reference purposes only, and in no way affect the meaning of the interpretation of the amendment or any provision herefor. The amendment may be executed in one or more counterparts, all of which will be considered one of the same agreement, and each will be deemed original. So that's the crux of the amendment.
Just to talk about the timeframes, this project was supposed to be up and running by July 1st, but we experienced, like Fiberite did, DEP problems in getting our permits. And then we got hit with COVID, and everything got shut down. So this is a situation that's well beyond our means of control. And, you know, as all of you know, who've been up at the transfer station, you've seen a lot of big progress going on with the framework and everything. Have you got the panels yet, or are they still on the boat?
We have half the panels at the warehouse and the other half are on the boat. They'll arrive first week of September.
I think that this is a responsible amendment. I don't see any here that frightens me. You know, Chuck has been good to work with. Maybe a little bit slow getting me up to speed on stuff, but we've corrected that, and I think we're going to be all set from this point forward.
I'd make a motion, we accept this amended agreement on the power purchase.
Motion's made, we have a second. Dave, thank you. All in favor?
Gentlemen, thank you, Chuck.
Okay, I'll see you on Monday, Gary.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Thank you.
Now moving on to item number 3. Item 3, decided current and right use violation.
I have Dave Savage here to address this, and I believe he has the property owners with him.
Yes, we're here for over on Autumn Lane, Chickadee Ridge off Summer Street. These two gentlemen are the ones building the house. The initial plan, they run a string between a couple of property markers. They built about 25 feet from the markers, and when they did a boundary survey for the financing, it has an arc in the front property line that moves one corner of the property line within 10, 11 feet of the building, which is violating our setback agreement. They obviously were made of this, they brought it to my attention, and trying to figure out a way to resolve it, and we come up with this administrative consent agreement that the town manager can be authorized to do if the board chooses to allow them to address this. Where it is a land use violation, this has been reviewed by the town's attorney. He said because it is a violation, you have to address a violation somehow. He recommended and agreed with a $100 penalty and any attorney fees, which these gentlemen understand and are happy to make it correct if that can be resolved.
So just kind of reframe that up so you understand, you've got two property lines, two property pins that run along a road. The way the property boundary goes, that property actually arcs between those two pins. So if you were unaware of what was happening and you didn't really know where your property line was, they thought that their house was within the setback range. But after they got the whole thing done, after the fact, they found that that property line arced down, so they were closer to the property line right away than what they should have been. Is that fair?
That's fair. We thought we were 24 feet, and
If you guys want to
the
take it,
thing kind of shows how that's going to work.
if you guys want to take a second to look at this, it's going to be this lot here. And if you look at the property lines, you can see 3 dots on it. And believe it or not, the center dot is the one that's 11 feet in. And looking at this, they look like this one is actually going out. So this dot here is actually 9 feet in beyond these two, which is what's creating the setback issue. And I can take that down and show you because you guys can't see what I'm pointing at, so.
And
This is
going
the lot
forward, guys,
question.
K&K is going to set the
These are the
house.
2 lots, they were measured.
K&K
This
did.
one actually sits in
From down
9
this.
feet from these.
Going forward,
So
right.
this arc of the right of way actually moves that in by 9 feet.
So ultimately, the arch goes towards the house.
Correct.
Yes.
So based on the pins, you guys were fine.
Yeah. Makes sense now or not?
We were looking, they said, well, let's go back to, so it was 24 feet. We said, we're good there, you know? And then the guy came over, you know.
Look, it looks straight, but they measured, there was this radius from over here, so this
Oh,
curve
no,
here.
we just need your
goes
permission
into
before
this.
we do it all
And
fine
that's-
away fees.
Again.
I mean, obviously,
Here
you
it
got
is,
some measurements.
measurements. Like I said, they found this one, I found this one.
Okay.
Played the game right.
Well, we played it, I don't think we played it right if we're in violation.
Unfortunately, violates the ordinance.
This is right, he's gonna come over from now on, and you put it there.
You know that? These are 2 different. This one here is actually in, believe it or not, 9 feet. So when they did this arc, or this curve,
And
that
rub
would
over
make it
it.
absolutely right.
You know, it's in the.
You all set down there, Dave?
Is that our tax
Yes,
map?
yeah, I got it.
This is the subdivision plan.
I got that from K&K, I just had it blown out so you guys can see.
That was
that
approved.
little piece of paper.
So I'll make a motion to accept the agreement of the $100 plus the take care of the attorney's fees as written. Second, all in favor?
Well, thank you, Dave. Thank you, men, for coming in. Appreciate you.
Is that all right?
This thing is
Thank you,
all-
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Sewer pipe repair, see, a wonderful Mr.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Boy, Snowden in here.
Wonderful
I had
Mr.
to
Boyd
pay
Snowden.
$3 for that one. So I sent out a request for proposals, I think it was about a month ago, and we actually sent it to 3 different companies. McGee Construction, CMD, actually 4, Nitram, and Mantor Construction of Maine, all local contractors. Whoops, sorry. We got 3 bids back. Nitram just had too much work, they had too much work scheduled this year, so they didn't have time to do that. I'll just briefly explain what I want to do, what we had included in the RFP, and what I'd like to recommend to you folks as far as approval to allow me to move forward. So these are 5 different projects that I was looking at throughout town that we found issues from our CCTV inspections that we've been doing over the last several years, as well as one that contributed to a partial backup, which is the Belgrade Road. We have on Route 11, there's it's a 12-inch sewer pipe, but it's fairly well right underneath a DOT culvert, and it's partially collapsed, so it's kind of an emergency. We need to deal with that. That's about 23 feet of partially collapsed pipe that we'll be replacing there. Oak Street is a manhole that was buried. We found it during our CCTV inspections, and actually right outside the it's our old brick manhole. Right outside the manhole, you can see just a void right up to the pavement. So the only thing keeping vehicles from dropping out is the actual pavement itself. I mean, there's not much left on the outside of the manhole. So Oak Street is actually, it's right near the Sawtell, just south of the Sawtell intersection. So what we're looking at doing is excavating that out, bringing that up to grade, replacing the whole manhole with